As all of you know that Sri Aurobindo Society is an international organization working for individual perfection, social transformation and human unity based on a spiritual foundation. More than 300 branches all over India, the society has been striving its excellent services to enriching humanity through different activities. One of the important initiatives of Sri Aurobindo Society is to explore the grand cultural heritage of one of the important initiatives of Sri Aurobindo Society to explore the grand cultural heritage of India through its multidimensional activities. So we are trying to explore the grand cultural heritage of India, its magnificence and the outstanding spirits which were mentioned in the scriptures and which were striving through many years. While we're starting this project, I was influenced by Sri Aurobindo's one of the writings, which he mentioned on August 14th, 1947, to his message to the nation. He gave a message to the people of India, and especially to the people of the world. He mentioned 5 dreams. In 3 of the dreams, he mentioned for the resurgence and the duration of the people of Asia and her return to her great role in the progress of human civilization. He also mentioned a world union forming, the outer basis of a fairer, brighter, and nobler life for all mankind. And also, he mentioned the spiritual gift of India to the world. So, Maharshi Aurobindo also pointed significant aspects of on international understanding, including international spirit and outlook, international forms and institutions, and will interchange or voluntary fusion of cultures and development of human unity. So, inspired by the ideas of Maharshi Aurobindo and the mother, we have started this project on the title India and the World. And today we are happy that we have our guest speaker, Mr. Kishor Kumar Tripathy, is with us. I'd just like to briefly introduce about the topic. It's the series. The main objective of this India and the World series is to interact with different communities and different cultures and to find the similarities, how they intermingle, and how we can create a better understanding between peoples and the cultures. So its objective includes the promotion of study of India and international affairs, to promote India's relationship with other countries. We have also the vision to explore the age-old historical and cultural interactions between India and other countries based on research, publication, interactions, and academic exchange programs. We are also in a process in collaborating with institutions and scholars for research, study, and academic activities. And today we have the speaker, Mr. Bikaskali. He's one of the directors of XuFancheng Culture Center in Puducherry. He is an international consultant and researcher. As a medical professional in past, he had served for a brief period of 4 years in Delhi, Yunnan, China. His expertise include India-Eurasia relations, India-China and P2P relations, biodiversity and environment, cross-cultural studies, and academic program development. Also, he has expertise in XuFancheng's life and academic achievements. He works with various organizations and he has been an international speaker for various events such as Goa Forum for Asia 2019, BRICS Youth Cultural Exchange 2021, and also participated as an observer for the UN COP15 biodiversity events. It's really a matter of great pleasure for us to collaborate with XuFancheng Culture Center because we recently organized some of the programs. I also welcome the director, Dr. Radha Srinivasa Gopalanji, and the colleagues from the XuFancheng Center and also the colleagues from the Sri Aurobindo Society for joining us. And so many other guests they have joined through virtual mode. So I welcome all of you for this today's initiative, and I request Mr. Bikaskali to kindly start his proceedings with his notes. Thank you.
Sri Aurobindo is the flower, the mother is the fragrance. Sri Aurobindo is the face, the mother is the smile. Sri Aurobindo is the lamp, the mother is the flame. Sri Aurobindo is truth in its conception, the mother is truth in its embodiment. Sri Aurobindo is the heart, The mother is the tender feeling. Sri Aurobindo is the song. The mother is the singer. Sri Aurobindo is all containing book. The mother is all explaining teacher. Sri Aurobindo is the vision. The mother is the action. A part of the writings taken from Volume 2, Number 1, 27 August 1966 by Sri Chinmoy. The mother and Sri Aurobindo. The mother is not a disciple of Sri Aurobindo. She has had the same realization and experience as myself. The mother's sadhana started when she was very young, when she was 12 or 13. Every evening, many teachers came to her and taught her various spiritual disciplines. Among them was a dark Asiatic figure. When we first met, she immediately recognized me as the dark Asiatic figure whom she used to see a long time ago. That she should come here and work with me for a common goal was it were a divine dispensation. The mother was an adept in the Buddhist yoga and the yoga of the Gita even before she came to India. Her yoga was moving towards a grand synthesis. After this, it was natural that she should come here. She has helped and is helping to give a concrete form to my yoga. This could not have been possible without her cooperation. These words of Sri Aurobindo, written in his letter, August 17, 1941, to Aurobindo Basu through Nirobdara. I am more than grateful to stand here today. I wish to thank the organizers, AuroBharati, Sri Aurobindo Society, Puducherry. It is an honor and privilege to be here today with the honorable guests and many new friends. Thanking everyone who have come here today to witness this first lecture series from the event series titled India and the World. Thanking Dr. Kishor Tripathy. He is the main person behind this incredible idea to represent India to the world. Wish you a great success. Today I will speak on Professor XuFancheng, his works on Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, and how his works are significant in the field of developing intercultural understanding between India and the world. May the Almighty blessings be blessed on all of us. Let the eternal light dawn on the eastern horizon. Professor XuFancheng, born on 26 October 1909 in Changsha and passed away on 6 March 2000 in Beijing. He was a polyphyletic. He had several names: Fancheng, Shu Shichuan, Jihai, XuFancheng, Wushu, Shuhu, HS, or Professor F.C. Shu. He was a translator of Indian, Chinese, and German philosophy. He was a poet, Chinese painter, and a calligrapher. An Asian scholar who studied Chinese civilization, Indian civilization, and German civilization in the 20th century and made important contributions in many fields of these three cultural circles. Professor XuFancheng was the first Chinese who introduced Sri Aurobindo to China. In modern history of India, there were three great men, namely Rabindranath Tagore, Mahatma Gandhi, and Sri Aurobindo. It was due to Professor Shu's contributions, China and other Chinese-speaking nations began to know about Sri Aurobindo and integral yoga. Professor Shu translated Sri Aurobindo's works, such as the Life Divine and Integral Yoga, to Chinese. He also translated the great Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and Kalidasa's Meghdutta. Besides, he also wrote books such as Confucianism and Corpus of Sun Jiao in English, introducing Chinese ancient classics to the world. He is regarded in Europe as one of the great translators of German philosophies. He translated the Nietzsche's Ike Homo, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Daybreak, and The Gate. He played a bridge linking people of China, India, and the Europe. He is one of the Chinese scholars who lived in India for the longest period of 33 years. He came to India at the age of 36 and returned to China at the age of 69. It was written by His Excellency Luo Chaowei, the former Chinese ambassador and Vice Foreign Minister of PR China, on March 10, 2018. I begin with his early life of XuFancheng. Professor Shu was born in Changsha, the capital city of Hunan province. Hunan province is known as the first historical and cultural Chinese city. His name was Hu, courtesy name was Ji Hai. Professor Shu was taught by the late Qing dynasty Confucian scholar Wang Kaiyu. His primary school geography teacher was Chairman Mao. In Changsha is a place where Chairman Mao used to study and live before joining the Chinese Communist Party in the 1920s. One of the historical figures who comes from Hunan province is Professor Tan Yunshan, who is born in Chanling County of Hunan province. Tan Yunshan was a Chinese scholar and founder of the Shantiniketan's China Bhavan, the oldest center of Chinese studies in South Asia. In 1926, Professor Shu entered Xiangya Medical College in Changsha City, Hunan province. In 1927, he studied at the History Department of Wuhan National's second Sun Yat-sen University. And from 1928 to 1929, he entered the Western Literature Department of Fudan University in Shanghai. He studied fine art and philosophy at the University of Augsburg, Germany, from 1929 to 1932. From 1937 to 38, he taught at Tongji University. From 39 to 40, he taught at the National Academy of Arts. From 1941 to 45, he served as the editor of the Central Library, presided over the Book Monthly, and served as a professor at the Central University. Professor XuFancheng and Lu Xun. Lu Xun is a famous writer during the Chinese early years, and he is quite famous in all over the Chinese-speaking nations. On May 15, 1928, Professor Xu attended Lu Xun's speech at Fudan Medical School. He met and corresponded with Lu Xun and started writing on Yusul, the first literary journal, mainly based on prose in the history of modern Chinese literature. From 1929 to 1932, during his stay at Germany, he used to send woodblock prints to Lu Xun. His study at Augsburg was inspired on Lu Xun's advice. Lu Xun's diary mentions about Professor Xu many times during this period. In this period, Professor Xu's name was mentioned as Fancheng or Shi Chuan. Mr. Lu Xun has always been fond of art, and he is always concerned about art books. And he likes to buy and browse Mr. Shi Chuan, who studied in Germany, and Mr. Ji Jiren, who studied in France, asked them to search for printmaking. Shu is because of his special era and strong love for printmaking, which made Lu Xun choose to introduce and support the art of printmaking. It was an article published by Xu Guanping on the Lu Xun and the Chinese woodcut movement. On the right hand side, we can see the first ever woodcut portrait of Lu Xun by Professor XuFancheng. This is a picture taken on during the period when XuFancheng was in Germany. In this picture, we can see Zhu Xie, Zhu Jiqing, Fang Zi, and XuFancheng. Fang Zi is the founder of German studies in China. Xu Shichuan was a central figure in Lu Xun's development as an authority on art and more broadly in the understanding of European arts and artists. Professor XuFancheng was assisted by Lu Xun to translate Nietzsche's Ike Homo, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Daybreak, and the Gay Science into Chinese in the last years of Lu Xun's life. Lu Xun contributed to Xu's project mainly by pointing him to the volumes that need to be translated and helping him with the publication process. This is a little bit about the Das Spoke Zarathustra written by Nietzsche. In German, it is called as Also Sprach Zarathustra, also translated as the Das Spoke Zarathustra, is a work of philosophical fiction written by German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche between 1883 to 1885. Nietzsche says in Ike Homo that he chose Zarathustra as the voice for his philosophy because Zarathustra was the first to see within the battle between good and the evil the essence of many other arguments, and for upholding truthfulness as a supreme virtue. The protagonist is nominally the historical Zoroaster, but besides a handful of sentences, Nietzsche is not concerned with a specific resemblance. Much of the book consists of discourses by Zarathustra on a wide variety of subjects, most of which ends with the refrain, "Thus spoke Zarathustra." Zarathustra deals with the ideas about Ubermensch. It is about the supermanhood, the death of God, the will to power, and eternal recurrence. This is the Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra, translated by Professor XuFancheng, published from India, and Confucianism from China, with original consciousness theory as the focus. Professor Xu came to Pondicherry in 1951. He became a devotee of Sri Aurobindo and a follower of the Mother. For 27 years, he lived at Pondicherry and devoted himself in translating the works of Sri Aurobindo under the guidance of the Mother. This right-hand side picture is taken at Pondicherry. The location is just near the beach side where the Mother provided him a full villa to stay. Professor XuFancheng translated most of the significant works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother to Chinese, which included The Life Divine, On Yoga, Integral Yoga, and Yoga Letters Set. This right-hand side picture is taken in October 1954. You can see the Mother and Professor XuFancheng during the Lakshmi Puja. Professor XuFancheng translated 50 Upanishads in 1984. The translations of Sri Aurobindo's thoughts on spiritual and social evolution theories, which is widely received by Chinese intellectuals even today. This is the Sayings of the Mother, Volume 2, translated by Professor XuFancheng. Most of these books, which are right now I'm presenting, it is printed at the Sri Aurobindo Ashram Press during this period of time. This is the translation of Yoga, Part 2, published in April 1960. The Human Cycles, first edition, published in September 1960, published at Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Pondicherry. This is the Sayings of the Mother, Volume 3. So, particularly if I can see, the Part 1, 2 and 3 is completely translated by Professor XuFancheng by 1978. The major ideas and theories contained in the Upanishads spread in China along with Buddhism. They gave a major impact on Chinese philosophy. This is the synthesis of yoga published in China. In 1957 at Pondicherry, Professor Xu wrote Kalidasa's Meghdutta and the Bhagavad Gita in classical Chinese language. In his works, Professor Xu adopted an original style of Li Sao and Chinese poetry by composing his own poems on the basis of the original meaning. On the right-hand side is the original handwritten Bhagavad Gita manuscript, which can be found at the National Shanghai Museum. Li Sao is an ancient Chinese poem from the anthology Chu and was written by Zhu Yuan of the Kingdom of Chu, who died in 278 BCE. In a way, the destiny of mankind has been determined by the philosophies of ancient Greece, India, and China, each with its genuine and independent roots. Without those, neither the Eastern civilization nor that of the West can be thinkable. If there is any meaning of academic research, and if it is to provide any useful service to mankind, then it must be to prepare for the coming of a great future by revisiting the profound lessons of the past by Professor XuFancheng. Professor Xu was able to recount Confucius' thoughts representing Lu Wang's philosophical school of the Ming Dynasty by basing on the philosophical thought of Sri Aurobindo. A little bit about Lu Wang's philosophical school of the Ming Dynasty. It is a neo-Confucianism. Moral virtues are innately present in the human mind, and that endowed by heaven. Humanness and righteousness form the original mind of human beings. The original mind is shared by all human beings, both sages and common people, and its truth is ageless and eternal. Professor XuFancheng compared Sanskrit to the Changsha dialect from a phonological point to demonstrate the influence of Buddhism on native languages in China and cultural exchanges and assimilation between China and India, providing new approaches and aspirations for India-China cultural studies. In the right hand side, it is the Gita preface by Professor XuFancheng. The Mother on XuFancheng. The Mother's Agenda, Volume 3, October 30, 1962. Chinese can't translate the way we do. In Chinese, each character represents an idea rather than a separate word. The basis is ideas, not words, and their meaning. So the translation must be completely different kind of word for them. The man's a genius, and he has experiences too. He is a sage. This is written by the mother, and it can be read in the Mother's Agenda, the volume 3. And right hand side is one of the Sri Aurobindo's poems, which is translated by Professor XuFancheng. To understand how he is translating Sri Aurobindo's synthesis of yoga into Chinese characters, he has had to find new characters. It was very interesting. He must have invented characters. Chinese characters are made up of root signs, and the meaning changes according to the positions of the root signs. So XuFancheng, during his translation of Sri Aurobindo's works, invented new Chinese characters. This is one of the books which, after he goes back to China, he has published. We know Chinese language. Chinese language is right now we study the Mandarin. The old Chinese language is totally different. During the 1940s, 1920s only, this Mandarin was included in the Chinese in China actually. This is the Mother's Agenda, Volume 3. This is Mother on Wushu, the Mother's Agenda, October 10, 1970. I also thought I would ask Wushu to do it in Chinese. That would be good. Shall I ask him for you? Yes, tell him that I ask him to do it. If he wants to. If we could send it to China. There is a Chinese in Shantiniketan, but I am no longer in touch with him. He is a philosopher, a very intelligent man. But anyway, for the translation, it should be Shuhu. For the German, I don't know. We have many Germans, but I don't know. As for the book, it will do like the adventure. It will spread little by little. Here the mother refers in Shantiniketan, Professor Tan Yun-shan, who was the founder of the China Board. So that period of time in India, we can see that only Professor XuFancheng was from the South India as a Chinese, and from the North India it was Tan Yun-shan. Only two scholars were present. This is Mother's Agenda, Volume 3, October 13, 1962. My translations of the synthesis of yoga will be finished soon. I will miss it. But aren't you going to start on Savitri? It suddenly seemed terribly ambitious to me. My stock of words isn't so great. HS, Mother refers to Wushu, was written to me, and there was a sentence in his letter that brought a certain problem to my attention. He said, I have done so many hours of translation. It's a mechanical task. I wondered what he meant by mechanical task, because as far as I am concerned, you can't translate unless you have the experience. If you start translating word by word, it no longer means anything at all. Unless you have the experience of what you translate, you can't translate it. Then suddenly realized that the Chinese can't translate the way we do. In Chinese, each character represents an idea rather than a separate word. The basis is ideas, not words and their meanings. So translation must be a completely different kind of work for them. So I started identifying with HS to understand how he is translating Sri Aurobindo's synthesis of yoga into Chinese characters. He has had to find new characters. It was very interesting. He must have invented characters. Chinese characters are made up of root signs and the meaning changes according to the positions of the root signs. Each root sign can be simplified depending on where it's placed in combination with other root signs at the top of the character, at the bottom, or to one side or the other. And so, finding the right combination for new ideas must be fascinating task. I don't know how many root signs can be put in one character, but some characters are quite large and must contain a lot of them. As a matter of fact, I have been shown characters expressing new scientific discoveries, and they were very big. But how interesting it must be to work with new ideas that way. And HS calls it a mechanical task. The man's a genius, and he has experiences too. We have hardly ever spoken together, but I have seen some letters he wrote. To one person, he said, if you want the Taoist experience, all you have to do is to come here and live at the ashram. You will have the realization of Laozi's philosophy. This was written by the mother on Professor XuFancheng. This picture is not so clear, but it was the inauguration of Professor Xu's exhibition in the exhibition hall of the ashram on 4th May 1967 with the Noneli Kanta Gupta and Andre. In 1967, Professor Xu exhibited his old paintings. The mother wrote a very special introduction. Here are the paintings of a scholar who is at once an artist and a yogi, exhibited with my blessings. Chinese section at the ashram school. In 1954, Nandalal Patel had just shifted his business from Puducherry to Hong Kong. There he worked to start at the Sri Aurobindo Philosophical Circle of Hong Kong, for which the mother gave the message, let the eternal light dawn on the eastern horizon. While in Hong Kong, Nandalal received a letter from Jayati Lal, in charge of the ashram archives, telling him that mother wanted him to buy a Chinese printing press and had to ship it to Pondicherry. The mother added that a compositor should also be recruited, as Wushu could not do the printing work himself. So an advertisement was sent to a newspaper looking for a young assistant willing to go to India. Mother chose a young man from the list of 17 applicants, namely Kao Tam Singh, and asked him to come and help Wushu. This is by Nandalal Patel. Wushu had just written to him, this is the divine word, and Kautam Singh was ready, not asking the questions any ordinary person would have asked. A house was rented where Wushu and Kautam Singh would stay. Wushu used to get up to check that Kautam Singh was sleeping well. He cared for his well-being as if he were his own son. And so the Chinese section of the Sri Aurobindo Center of Education was born with the blessings of the mother. In the right hand side, you can see a photograph. This was handwritten by the mother on the day of the exhibition on 4th May 1967. Professor Xu was also a Chinese painter and a calligrapher. He painted more than 500 Chinese paintings, which are safely kept at Sri Aurobindo Ashram Studio at Pondicherry, and also some paintings can be found with the few people who had acquaintances with Professor Xu. These are the two portraits by Professor XuFancheng. Both the portraits were exhibited at Sri Aurobindo Ashram Studio. These are some of the paintings by Professor XuFancheng. The photographs and the paintings are courtesy of Sri Aurobindo Ashram Pondicherry. The Chinese does not use any kind of color. They use only black ink. So this all paintings which has been done, it is the shades of black. It is not color. So this is and also the paper which was used, it cannot be found in India. This is a Chinese paper. These are some of his calligraphies. On January 4th, 2020, Professor Fancheng and a group of Chinese and Indian scholars visited Puducherry to study the paintings of Professor XuFancheng. So it was assisted by Mr. Mati Prasad, Mr. Devdip, and Mr. Richard Hertz from Aurobindo Archives, Sri Aurobindo Archives, and we visited the Sri Aurobindo studio and the Grace office where this Professor Fancheng, where he studied the paintings on Professor XuFancheng. This is the Auroville Charter, handwritten by Professor Xu. In an article in Nanyang Xiang Hao, a newspaper in Singapore, Xu introduced the project of Auroville in Chinese and spoke about building a pavilion which can represent the culture and arts achievements of the great Chinese civilization, and invited Chinese scholars and artists to participate. In 2006, the year of India-China Friendship Year, Professor XuFancheng's works were published in 16 volumes by the Shanghai Joint Publishing Company. Today, in the field of India-China relations, he is regarded as the greatest cultural bridge between India and China, and regarded as the modern-day Xuanzang. XuFancheng's collected works show that he was not only a translator of Indian philosophical works, he was also an original writer, and even though most of his own creations are relatively short, they cover an extensive range, reflecting deeply on Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism, as well as classical Grecian philosophy. Translation of the Upanishads has been reprinted twice. It was told by the editor Wang Yangshan of the Chinese Social Science Publishing. This is the Bhagavad Gita book, which was written by Professor XuFancheng and published in China. This is the complete 16 volumes of Professor XuFancheng's work, which is published in China. Apart from this, also Sri Aurobindo Ashram has published the books of Professor XuFancheng. The mother's volumes are not included in this part, and some of the Sri Aurobindo's works are also not included here. XuFancheng is known as the first Chinese person who introduced integral yoga to China. XuFancheng has been often credited with not only introducing Indian philosophy to China, but also inspiring Chinese universities to teach the works of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. He firmly believed in the spiritual message of Sri Aurobindo that proposed India to maintain a universal brotherhood with all countries. When Professor Xu was pursuing his vocation single-mindedly, Chinese youths were flocking to Western countries, embassies or consulate offices to apply for student visas. It was a time when science and technology were considered best formula to change China. Who would think of going to India to study philosophy in a dead language called Sanskrit, when GDP is considered the best measurement of progress? It was by Yang Shushan, a philosopher and professor of sinology in the Renmin University of China. After mother left her body on 17 November 1973, Professor Xu also left Pondicherry in 1978. He brought back from India a set of 30 volumes of the complete works of Sri Aurobindo. At China in his later years, he worked at Institute of World Religions of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. The most important thing is that XuFancheng's approach to Chinese philosophy is based on Sri Aurobindo's spiritual philosophy. Spiritual philosophy always opposed to material science. But from the standpoint of pure spiritual philosophy, it is not that spirit and matter are dualistic, but that spirit embraces matter, and the main purpose is to explore the truth of the universe and life, to search for the source of all knowledge and academics, and its theme is even beyond the mind. Then it can be said that all philosophy is all inclusive. That is, the philosophy of all philosophy which stands in each, the pinnacle of the civilization system, by Professor XuFancheng. XuFancheng's legacy. Xu returned to China in 1978 after the Cultural Revolution in his country. He joined the Institute of World Religions, a department in the Chinese Academy of Social Science, as a faculty. His later years were spent leading a quiet lifestyle, focusing on his own work and helping fellow seekers. Professor Xu passed away on March 6, 2000. He possessed the ability to translate Sanskrit texts into classical Chinese, while both languages are archaic and not commonly spoken by people in India and China. Professor XuFancheng believes that Lu Jiyuan, Wang Yangmi, and Sri Aurobindo of India, although geographically distant, have many similarities, even with Nietzsche in the West. There is a comparable point in common, that is, they are not saviors who claim to be saviors, but sages who practice themselves. Professor Shu's translation is a mediator between more than three different languages: Sanskrit, English, German, Latin, and Chinese, and different cultures: India, China, Germany, and Eurasian nations. This makes Professor Shu as an expert in intercultural communication, who created a bridge and aided others to cross cultural and linguistic boundaries. Professor Shu's works are highly significant in filling the communication gap between people from different cultures speaking different languages. Professor Shu's translation of Sri Aurobindo's works helped to communicate the philosophical ideas and beliefs in a proper way which could be understood by Chinese speaking nations from different literary and cultural backgrounds. Professor Shu tried to bring together different knowledges in different epistemes without silencing or marginalizing the specificity of any of these knowledges. His translations allowed Chinese peoples to experience Indian cultural phenomena, most importantly the integral yoga by Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, that would otherwise be too foreign and remote to grasp through their own cultural lens. Professor Shu provided a platform to communicate and exchange ideas from different countries. In this era of globalization, Professor Shu's translations are extremely important. It enables people to understand the world. Students are able to understand philosophy and history through Professor Shu's translated works. Today, many more readers are able to enjoy new insights into the different philosophical thoughts through the contemporary translations of Professor XuFancheng. Professor XuFancheng once said, "I have been able to benefit from two teachers in my life. One is the teacher of enlightenment, and the other is Mr. Lu Xu." This is the first international symposium in memory of Professor XuFancheng, and an exhibition of Professor XuFancheng's paintings was held at the Sri Aurobindo Ashram Studio on March 10, 2018, Puducherry. Here I am concluding the speeches of mine on Professor XuFancheng and coming to the recent activities what we have done. The Chinese ambassador to India, Luo Zhaowei. Actually, Chinese ambassador to India, Luo Zhaowei, was one of the students of Professor XuFancheng. So that is why how he is more interested in Professor XuFancheng. Ambassador Luo says, friends, last week I visited Pondicherry. It is one of my dreaming places. One of my teachers, Professor XuFancheng, lived in Sri Aurobindo Ashram from 1945 to 1978. He was one of the most famous Chinese scholars, translating the Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, and Shakuntala from Sanskrit to Chinese. He also introduced Sri Aurobindo to China. More than 300 pieces of his paintings of Professor Shu were kept in Sri Aurobindo ashram. Looking at his legacies, our eyes are full of tears. He was one of the bridges between our two countries. These were a few of the speakers who were present during that event on March 10, 2018. The book Essays on Memory of Professor XuFancheng, it was based on the March 10th event, compiling all the speeches by the scholars, and it was released on December 21st, 2018, in the first India-China high-level mechanism of cultural and people-to-people exchanges by our former External Affairs Minister, Srimati Sushma Swaraj Madam, and Foreign Minister, Wang Yi. On October 26, 2020, we inaugurated the XuFancheng Culture Study Center in presence of the recent Chinese ambassador, Sun Weidong, and our former Chief Minister, Mr. Narayana Swamy, and also professors from Pondicherry University, Dari University, also our Tourism Minister, Mr. K. Lakshmi Narayan was also present. Ambassador Sun Weidong, Madam Ambassador Diana, and the Cultural Council at Chinese Embassy, they visited the XuFancheng Culture Study Center on June 1st, 2022, this year. Our center's main objective, the study of Professor XuFancheng's life and the academic works. We are working in the project of digitalization and publication of Professor Xu's works, developing a library at Pondicherry where collection of Professor Xu's works and the books related to China studies and India-China relations can be kept. Our center is in the field of South Indian cultural promotion, China studies, and India-China cultural relations. I don't care about appearing in the public eye. I don't care about not hearing applause, but I just keep learning and writing until the end of my life. By Professor XuFancheng. Thanking everyone. May the new light illumine your thoughts and your lives, govern your hearts and guide your action. By Professor. Thank you everyone. So I'm open to questions and all.
It was indeed a matter of great pleasure to listen from Dr. Kishor Kumar Tripathy. I would like to present one of the visions of Sri Aurobindo. He has written in his writings in Vande Mataram. A great and living civilizations like the civilization of China, Japan, and India, which have understood and practiced organizations and self-adaptation to surrounding circumstances for thousands of years and have developed a highly intellectual and ingenious people quick to understand, to imitate, and to improve. When we study the cultural relations between the different civilizations of the world, we find when the rise of the civilization concept, right, different civilizations interacted with each other. In somewhere they fought with each other. The rise of the class of civilizations concept arrived, and those civilizations were broken, and few different nations were arise, like the rise of nations concept. So the whole world was divided into different nations, but still we had a linkage. And when we talk about the India's cultural relations with other countries, we find we are connected to the Silk Route connections. We had a great connection with the Southeast Asia, Central Asia, West Asia, East Asia, and South Asian countries. And this lecture is a unique opportunity to understand the India's relationship, how Professor XuFancheng created an atmosphere to understand the two different cultures. So now I think some of the guests that have participated online, if any questions were welcome, we can have a discussion on this topic, please. Yeah, Vishwaranjanji, you want to say something?
Kishor, namaste, and all the delegates in this occasion. So, very good, very expensive moments for me.
You can introduce Mr. Vishwaranjan, otherwise I will introduce you. Mr. Vishwaranjan Rath is basically a medical professional. We met in 2002 in Odisha when I was continuing my masters. And both of us, we had a dream in 2002, we will do something for our country. Then I studied, I lived to Delhi and I was attached with the central government services. But Vishwaranjan Rath completely dedicated his life, more than 22 years. He is reaching to the schools and having workshops in colleges, schools, and it's more than 10 lakh students or workshops he has organized. So he has formed an organization called Jagat Guru Yoga Bharat Foundation, so that he's trying to connect to the local communities, schools. So I just introduced Mr. Vishwaranjan. Please tell your points, please. Please, no problem.
तो सबको मेरा प्रणाम और ये श्री अरविंद जी की जो इस महीने जो कार्यक्रम को मतलब सारे विश्व में पहुंचाने के लिए प्रयास किया उसके लिए मैं अपनी भावना मतलब अभिनंदन देता हूँ और ये बहुत मुश्किल समय कि हमारी गुरुजी पंडित श्याम शर्मा आचार्य जी ने जो अपने युवावस्था में एक बार पंडिचेरी गए थे और श्री अरविंद से ही उन्होंने इंस्पिरेशन लिया और उन्होंने ही उनको मतलब अखिल विश्व गायत्री परिवार जो निर्माण हुआ और गुरुजी बार बार उनकी किताब में लिखते हैं कि कैसे श्री अरविंद की विचार उनको प्रेरणा मिली उनसे और उसी विचार को लेकर आगे और आज और गायत्री परिवार जो उसके अंदर जो विचार है वो पूरे संपूर्ण रूप से समर्पित है हमारी भारत के महान साधक और नेशनल फ्रीडम फाइटर श्री अरविंद जी को और आज का जो सेशन था ये सारे विश्व के जितने भी अच्छे अच्छे ज्ञानी गुणी लोग हैं अच्छे लीडर्स हैं उन लोगों का जो व्यूज था वो मेरे को कम समय में मैंने जो देखा और जो पावरपॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन थोड़ी बहुत इंस्पिरेशन मतलब बहुत प्रेरणादायी था और इसी प्रकार का कार्यक्रम अगर आगे होगा तो और भी लोगों के पास नए पीढ़ी के पास और नए युवा के पास हमारा मेल फोटो रहना चाहिए कि कैसे श्री अरविंद जी का विचार पहुंचाए और वास्तव में हमारी भारत को विश्व को जगतगुरु बनाने के लिए युवाओं को जोड़ना चाहिए तो ये मेरा भावना था और मैं आप सब लोगों को प्रणाम करता हूँ धन्यवाद नमस्कार
I will just translate what he spoke. He spoke in Hindi. He mentioned that Pandit Sri Sharma Acharya, the founder of Yuga Shakti, Gayatri, the head branches at Vidwar, they have also one of the beautiful universities and more than thousands of branches working all over the world in promoting the indigenous knowledge traditions. He mentioned that when Pandit Sri Sharma Acharya met with Maharshi Aurobindo, and with his inspirations, he tried to work in that manner. And he's saying that it was a good program and it should be reached to the masses, especially to the youth, how we can work on our cultures and traditions. Yeah. Any other ideas, Mr. Ranjan?
मेरा कहना ये था कि अगर आप श्री अरविंद जी के विचार को जैसे छोटे छोटे बच्चों के पास हमारा बाल संस्कार शाला और युवा संस्कार शाला के माध्यम में पहुंचाएंगे जिसके माध्यम से मतलब नए पीढ़ी के पास जो हमारे देश के कम से कम अभी 60% से ज्यादा जिनके एज है 15 से 40 के अंदर अगर उनको टारगेट लेकर हमारा महर्षि अरविंद जी का जो विचार है जैसे हमारे देश को सारे विश्व में जगत को बनाने के लिए कौन कौन सा स्टेप हम लेना चाहते हैं अगर हम उसी तरह के मूवमेंट्स पूरा ग्राउंड जीरो से स्टार्ट करें और पंडिचेरी आश्रम का मार्गदर्शन और इतने स्पिरिचुअल जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है ऑल इंडिया का सबको जोड़कर जैसे श्री अरविंद जी का जो 150 जो एनिवर्सरी है उसको कैसे ऊपर बड़ा रूप दें
Exactly. Yeah, he's asking basically how we can work in the area of Bal Sanskriti or the Bal programs. Vishwaranjan, this platform is different. We are talking about India. Has your work been hampered because of the present prevailing situations?
I have mentioned that. My thinking is India will always have good relations with all countries in the world.
What is the future is asking?
Yeah, the future is India will always have a good relation with all the countries in the world. Not only with China, but every country in the world.
Sister Patty wants to say something. I want to introduce.
I just have a personal word for you. I looked up in this book. It says Hindi is the official language of the Union shall be Hindi in Devanagari script. Instead of, it should be Sanskrit.
Basically,
so I'm sure if,
as
our
well-
friend Hushu would agree with that.
You want to say something?
Please.
This is in the
please
Constitution of India.
Yeah, please ask me the question.
Any other questions or suggestions from the scholars, those who have joined through online or offline? Yeah, please.
What makes XuFancheng Puducherry What makes XuFancheng Puducherry particular?
Particularly, Professor Shu, he was actually at Shantiniketan, studying Sanskrit. So you can see the timeline when Professor Shu comes here. Okay. During that period when he studied at Shantiniketan, there was a bombarding going on by Japan for 3 years. Okay, that is how the Second World War India got included inside. Okay. So Calcutta, you can see the whole Calcutta is not place to live in that period of time. So he goes back to, not goes back, he visits to Varanasi, continues his Sanskrit. But going to Varanasi also for a single Chinese person, there is no future in that. And that period of time in India, Puducherry is only the place which was ruled by French. It was more open, and many other country peoples were also there. And all over the radio, they were mentioning about the Aurobindo, that many people from all over the world can come here, they can express their ideas and speak. So this is one of the things which attracted Professor Shu. So Professor Shu had a good connection with Fancheng also at China. So it is quite a difficult thing which Professor Shu actually took it up, because staying in Germany, from Germany he comes back to India to translate our philosophical books. I think it was the most challenging thing which he took it up, because Fancheng was invited by Rabindranath Tagore, but XuFancheng was not invited by anyone. With XuFancheng, the other scholars who were from China, they already goes back to China after the division of this China and Taiwan. It happens in 1950s. The Professor Shu stays back and he continues his journey for 33 years. So I think he got attracted to Sri Aurobindo's works also. This is also a major thing.
Any other questions?
So what we propose is to concentrate fascinated towards wood painting.
Towards woodblock printing, it is by Shu. During that period of time, the woodblock, you can see in Japan, they never sign. They will have a block printing. Okay? Instead of signing, like we sign by the pen, right? They will have a wood block and they will print. So each and every person have a different kind of wood block printing. So similarly in China also, you can see in the paintings which I have shown, Chinese painting won't have a signature. The paintings, every time you will see somebody will sign up, in leaves. But Chinese one, they will have one kind of wood block print. So wood block printing that period of time was just getting popular, in that period of time. So Lu Xun advises Professor Shu to learn that one from Germany. During that period of time, also German peoples were very hardworking. They were masters in many of the fields of cultures. Okay, so Professor Shu learns the first woodblock printing also. He is one of the person in China named as the learner of this woodblock printing. Okay. So, how to say, this is the most important. In the Asian culture, we are also from Asia, but similarly, like as I mentioned, in Japan, China, in Singapore, Malaysia, the cultures, they they use this wood block printing, that is their signature. Each and every person will have their own signature, they will carry with them that one. You have any question?
Yes. Actually, it was a nice presentation over the past few decades which has happened in the recent times. And then I wish to know about the future things like how the future going to be with the XuFancheng Culture Study in the near future as well as in the future goals of it.
Future?
What are they planned towards?
We are the future. You are the future.
Yeah, that's what.
You are inspired by XuFancheng?
Actually,
If you are inspired by Professor XuFancheng, to open the XuFancheng Culture Study Center is only to inspire people. My job is to inspire the culture, Eurasian culture, Chinese culture, Indian culture, how the cultures are important, how the cross-cultural relation is important. Okay, this will grow. You know why? Why it is? Globalization is there, right?
yeah.
If you want to go to another country, you have to know the culture. Right? They say no. If you go to Italy, you'll be like an Italian, right? So if you don't know the culture, globalization is very difficult. It will come to a conflict. So that is why XuFancheng Culture Study Center has a future. And I don't know in India is there are any other cross-cultural centers. There will be many others also in North India. Southern India I have not seen so much. The future in India, as we are going towards a globalization, India is also developing. Within another 10 years, we will see India will surpass China, USA, even UK. It is already surpassing. UK is going behind. Okay. So within 10 years, we will see that one. So during that period of globalization, these cross-cultural centers will be the most important thing for us, for promoting our culture also and learning from others also. That is how we can develop our India.
Yeah, actually, I firmly believe in it because by understanding others' culture, we can easily interact with them, also easily get accompanied with them.
Dr. Radha Srinivasa Gopalanji from the XuFancheng Culture Center, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I would like all the youngsters to join the XuFancheng Culture Study Center because they can have many scopes in that. They can do a lot of research works about XuFancheng, who's a great scholar and he's be a very great inspiring for all of them who lived in Pondicherry, since they are all citizens of Pondicherry. So they can have a research on these studies which will be very helpful in the future. Just as we are doing, we have a lot of research of Sri Aurobindo. And since Hushu was also lived in Puducherry and he's also lived in the ashram. So we can do a joint research on both of them and it will have a very big scope for the students. And it will be a very nice things to do all these things in India.
It's a good idea. So I hope the youngsters.
Yeah, the youngsters, it's a good that they have a wide scope here.
And also I want to thank our Kishor ji. He is also doing a very good thing. When he came here, I think by mother's blessings only we both met. We were not supposed to meet actually. So I will tell it is like a blessing only. Somebody like they show that yeah you have to meet with this person. So this is how we met with each other. His views are also in a globalized world. He wants to see cross-cultural activities more, promote Indian culture more. Okay, this is how our XuFancheng Culture Study Center is working together with our this AuroBharati and Sri Aurobindo Society. So he will provide you also more scopes. So right now, not only XuFancheng Culture Study Center, you are having another hand also, which is far more bigger also in Pondicherry. It is AuroBharati. Oh, he was also before in New Delhi in the IGNCA. So he is also having lots of contacts in that field. So any of you students who wants to do something, you can approach him, take his number, utilize this field. I think more you can tell about what are the
I just want to add something. There are two factors to study a cultural thing. The first, we are from the Pondicherry region, we are connecting to the Indian cultures, kind of similarities you'll find. If you visit to different states, we'll find there is a diversity. So our motto is to find unity in diversity. But when we'll try to study this, we will find unity in rich diversity. It's not diversity only. So the first factor is to find unity, to study the cultures in a different aspects. But when we go beyond, like we cross the cultures and study in different nations like that. So cross-culture study has its own significance and importance. And as you also know, that culture plays an important role in promoting the international relations. It's like the bilateral, political, this economic, the nuclear things. If you refer to the foreign policy of the government of India, culture is also plays an important role in that. And if you, since I was associated under the sister organizations of the Ministry of Culture, Government of India, I was closely associated with some of the cultural exchange programs, and we extensively worked in the areas of Southeast Asia, Central Asia, West and Southeast Asian countries. And we, during that process, 7.5 years my interaction with the government system, we connected with a lot of cultural institutions and the people, those who are working in that field. So it is very interesting field. I also say, if you visit sometimes in Turkey, there is a remote village. You'll find the people, they express their ideas through the visual languages. It's not like that I'm here just 10-15 meters, I'm just conveying something, the visuals. If you Google through the intangible cultural heritage of Turkey, the sign language, even if they use 100 or 150 or 200 meters of so there are different cultures, and once you enters into that, you find some unique ideas how the cultures interacted with each other. So we have started this project to communicate with different traditions and the cultures, and we will be connecting with, as Vikas informed, there are so many cultural institutions are there. You refer to the Puducherry University. There is UNESCO Mother Institute for South Asian Studies are there. Even if JNU there is a department, Delhi University is also their department. We can connect all these institutions, and with the like-minded people, if anyone wants to do something, some research on this, we are open, and we can do. This is just a beginning. We will connect with the different countries, different institutions, with the peoples. And this much I was just trying to say. If any other things one wants to say, then welcome. What's that to us? Huh? Because you want to say something?
No, this was great.
So although it was a small beginning, I can say, but if you refer to the history of the world, when we think about a dream, it starts from a very simple things only. When we see a big tree, it starts from a seed. And when you see this big ocean, it is only with the drop of the waters when intermingle can do good things. So it was a good beginning, and I hope with the blessings of the Sri Aurobindo and the mother and millions of the people, those who have taken their serious efforts to make live these traditions. If we do not have the culture, if we do not have the traditions, we are nothing. Science and technology, yeah, it's a part of life to sustain, but culture, tradition, language are the very integral parts of our life. And with these blessings, we have started this program today, and we will keep continuing this. Yeah, please.
Can you please tell me about the youth being here at Aurobindo Society? How it can impact the youth outside?
Okay, basically, Sri Aurobindo Society, this is basically the head office of Sri Aurobindo Societies. And the society has more than 300 branches all over India and other parts also. And we are regularly organizing some of the programs. There is a department called Youth, who specifically works on youth, and most probably the next youth camp will be held recently in the month of January announced. If you want to do some specific programs on the youth, you can we can connect to the concerned departments. We can have meetings with them, and we have the centers in any part of India or other parts. You want to do something that can be possible. I hope we can conclude this session. This is a good meeting, and from Sri Aurobindo Society, I would like to pay our sincere thanks to Dr. Bikaskali for this informative lecture. I think this is a good beginning, and it will continue with the blessings of the divine, and we will create a better relationship with the people's traditions and countries. With these few words, I would like to conclude this. Thank you so much. Namaste.